Tony Cruz, the dog trainer, is here from TC Dog Training. He's one of our favourite guests. He comes in every month or so to answer all your doggy questions, and he's got Motley the dog with him, who is... I love Motley the dog. He knows his way around here now, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
He went straight to get his water, he went up the stairs, straight in the studio. This dog is a radio professional.
But Tracy, is it me or is it the dog?
I don't know.
Why am I here?
I don't know. Anyway, Tony is here. He's going to be here through until midday. He is our pet of the week, so to speak, answering any dog-related questions that you might have. So if you want to ask Tony a question, you could send us a text Essex, then your message to 60300. You could, of course, send us an email through the website. You can put something on the Sunday Live Tracy Cooper Facebook page, or, of course, you can do it the traditional way and give us a call. 01702 45 50 60 is the number to call. Got lots to talk about today, Tony, haven't we? Because it's festive season.
Yeah. Busy period, yeah.
Busy period. So you're going to be giving some Christmas advice for dogs.
Yes,
don't give them chocolate, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy time of year. So, yeah, they're gonna suffer a little bit with a little bit of stress, a little bit of excitement, and that's just the parents. That's just the adults. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, more from Tony in a minute, and then also what we've got to do in a few moments' time. Very exciting. Anything doggy related, give us a call 01702 45 50 60. Text Essex then your message to 60300, or send us a message on Facebook. And we've got Kim on the phone. Good morning, Kim.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Now, what's your question for Tony, Kim?
Basically, we got a puppy, a pug puppy, when he was 6 weeks old. He's now nearly 20 weeks old, and we can't seem to get him out of biting.
Okay, is the biting, is it a situation where he's biting and putting in someone in casualty, or is it biting during play?
No, he does all the play biting. We play with him, like that. It's just what he does is, especially my husband, he actually does a lunge forward, and he actually bites, and he has actually taken a piece out of his ear.
Ooh.
Oh, nasty. Okay.
Yeah, when my husband was sitting down.
Okay, so obviously biting gets a reaction, and any reaction with a dog or a puppy can be seen as rewarding and reinforcing. So obviously that initial bite could have created a reaction in your husband, and has created a reaction. Potentially that puppy will repeat that behaviour. Obviously I can only advise you over the radio. Ideally you want to get a professional in just to look at the situation.
Well, we have seen like professionals. We've looked on the website. We've had other dog people look at him, and all the things that we've tried so many things now that we've worn out everything to try with him. He's such a lovely little dog. He's picked up everything else, absolutely everything, apart from this, and it seems to be aimed at my husband.
Sometimes it does occur with one person in particular, because it gets more of a reaction from that person. It just happened to be the case. So obviously in this situation you've got to look at prevention, you've got to look at management and control. I would contemplate some sort of a muzzle, or even when your husband's around, popping the puppy on a lead so that the situation can't occur, and then your husband can start rewarding the puppy for not lunging. Yep. So even if your husband has the puppy's food in his hand, and as the puppy's around your husband, he just tosses the food away from him. So the puppy starts looking away from him, and all the puppy's thoughts as the puppy looks at the husband is away and down to the ground. So you want to start rewarding appropriate behaviour. If the puppy does lunge, obviously you've got to do what you've got to do, but what you don't want to do is a huge reaction. You don't want to reprimand the puppy, because that can be seen as reinforcing. You don't want to shout at the puppy. Ideally your husband just quietly walks away and just ends his attention.
And then he turns his back.
Yeah, exactly. But
we're still trying.
Well, to further that, what your husband could actually do, turn his back, leave the room, and not only your husband should leave the room, but any human within that room leaves the room for about 2 minutes.
Oh, right, okay, so everybody leaves.
Yeah, so what you're applying there is a good timeout. So the second it happens, everybody leaves the room for up to 2 minutes, then you re-enter the room, and it may happen again, but gradually over time that will die out. So you've got to apply a decent timeout. If turning your back isn't sufficient, then shut the door. Up to 2 minutes, no longer than 2 minutes, but you have to be very, very consistent. Also, does your husband play with a puppy quite a lot?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe what I would suggest is just backing off from extensive games for a little bit. If he's playing with the puppy and it's getting a little bit hyperactive with the games, you know, the puppy may not be able to draw the line. So very cool, calm games. Don't let the puppy get too excited with your husband for the time being.
Okay, we thought it was because, like, my husband's obviously the strictest and he's got, like, a really deep voice, and maybe he was feeling a bit threatened. Yeah,
does your husband reprimand the puppy?
Yes,
does
he does,
I mean, that... If you start shouting at the puppy, there could come a point where the puppy has a go back. So the best form of punishment, if you like, you can give a puppy is to cut off your attention, is to leave the room if that's the only other way. But I certainly wouldn't be shouting at the puppy.
No, he doesn't now. He's just got such a deep voice anyway.
Yeah.
That I think someone said that it might be anxiety.
Yeah, it could well have turned into anxiety. There could have been excitement initially, and now it could have gone the other way. So just very, very cool, quiet, leave the room 2 minutes and then go back in.
Okay,
but certainly manage the situation so that no biting can take place.
Okay,
brilliant.
Thank you. Thanks for your help.
Brilliant. No
Not
problem,
at all.
Kim.
Thanks, Kim. Hope it's some help to you.
Lovely.
Cheers. Thanks, Tony. Let's have some music now. Marvin Gaye and Kim Weston. Playing just great songs. This is Sunday Live at 11:45. That's Aloe Black, I Need $1. We've got E17 and Gabrielle on the way next, though. Before that, time for another question for Tony Cruz, our resident dog trainer here on Sunday Live. I've had Giles on the phone from Southwood and Ferrers. He says, my dog literally wolfs down his dinner and then spends about 15 minutes charging around like an absolute loon. What's the cause of that, Tony, and how can we stop it?
Well, it's an interesting term, actually, wolfing down the food, and obviously that's where it came from when years and years and years and years ago, the ancestor of the dog, the wolf, obviously scoffed the food pretty quickly, so the term stayed. Wolfing down food comes from wolves. But yeah, it's quite common. Dog will eat the food very, very quickly, and we call it zooming. The dog will zoom around the room, almost horizontal to the wall. First of all, I would suggest checking the food. If the food's of good quality, there's a lot of cheap food out there, and unfortunately it's a lot of the food that you see advertised on TV. Because it's heavily advertised does not necessarily make it a good food. So do a little bit of research around the food that you're feeding your dog. If it contains a lot of additives and colorants, just like children, it can manifest itself in behaviour. The dog has less opportunity to focus, there'll be less patience, less impulse control within the dog, purely because all the colourings and all the nasty stuff that they might add to the food. So check the quality of the food first of all. Secondly, it's not unusual, it's not a massive issue or a problem if it's happening briefly. Often what it is you'll leave the dog, maybe you'll pop to the shops, you'll come back, say hello to the dog. The dog's so excited to see you, he doesn't quite know what to do with himself, so he'll bomb around the room and just shake off that stress.
Yeah, we call it a funny 5 minutes when my dog Flash does it.
Yeah.
And he tends to run up the stairs, across the bed, round the bed, down the stairs, and then starts all over again.
Well, 5 minutes is a good, not too long. So the main point there is he's pleased to see you, and rather than sort of jumping up and going nuts, he's expelling the energy around the house. So it's quite normal, particularly with puppies. An option is to open the back door, let the dog have a good romp in the garden, but it's not unusual. So if you've got a puppy out there and he's doing a bit of zooming, don't worry too much about it. If you know your dog food is good, then don't worry about it too much. Let the dog have a whiz around the garden. They're pleased to see you. They're expelling their energy, and it's usually after maybe a little bit of stress. You could call it a little bit of stress in the dog.
So just stand back and let them have a good old run.
Yeah, and then they come in, they have a little pants and probably fall asleep at your feet. So can't be bad.
Just like a husband. Music now from Fleetwood Mac. Say You Love Me. Oh, made you laugh there. Max, Say You Love Me on Sunday Live. Time to squeeze one more question in, and we've got Caroline in Shoebury talking to Tony Cruz, our dog trainer resident on the show. Caroline, what's your question for Tony?
I've got a 2-year-old Staffy, and he persistently chews my hands. No matter what I do when I come in, he's got to constantly chew my hands. He's just got to chew my hands all day long, and why?
Okay, so for a situation like that, if you've perhaps tried ignoring the dog, then we've got to look at. Okay, we've got to look at what I mentioned before. So, if I don't know if you heard the earlier call, you've got to look at control and management. So, you want to prevent it from happening. So I would look at a muzzle first of all. Once the behaviour starts dying out and it can't be reinforced, it will actually die out. So yeah, you can actually reward the right behaviour, but you want to prevent it from happening. So first of all, consider a muzzle. Secondly, if you've tried many other things, what I would suggest is getting a professional around. As I said, I can give you as much advice on the phone, but without seeing the setup of your house and your dog and what you're doing, I can't give 100% the right advice that's going to solve it. So I'd advise getting someone around from maybe the Association of Pet Behavioural Counsel, the Association of Pet Dog Trainers. One of those two organisations has registries on the website. Get someone around just to look at the setup. I would imagine within 1 or 2 visits you could sort that out. So get a professional in. But in the meantime, look at prevention.
Right, okay, so he doesn't hurt, but he's just annoying.
Well, if it's a problem to you, then it's a problem. So, you want to get someone in if you want to stop it. Obviously, you've called us up, so I would make that phone call, get someone in, and get someone just to look at the situation.
Okay, brilliant.
Caroline, good luck with that. Thanks for calling. Tony, so just time to have a quick chat about Christmas. What advice have you got for people for Christmas coming up for pets?
Well, it's a crazy time of year. I mean, you think about it, dogs know what trees are for. They go running in the woods. Suddenly you've got a tree in your living room, okay? So there's one problem. Then you've got a tree surrounded by toys and presents, so there's another problem. So, particularly with a puppy, you want to prevent any situations from happening. So if you've got any toys wrapped up, keep them away from the dog. So maybe put them high on a table where the dog can't actually get to them. Put the tree high up on the table, and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of prevention. Also, what a lot of people do is they give their dog a present. Crazy, I know. And
I got my dog's presents.
Oh, I never do that, of course. No, but you might actually wrap a present up for your dog, and obviously you can have great fun watching your dog unwrap the present. Now, suddenly the dog's had great fun doing that. He gets his toy, maybe. And then the next day he jumps underneath the Christmas tree and unwraps another present, and he gets told off for it. So you've got to be very clear in your messages. So keep presents out of the way of the dog, keep the tree high off the ground, try and stick to a routine as much as possible, because it all goes out the window at Christmas. But try and keep your dog nice and calm, avoid too much excitement, too much stress for your dog.
Brilliant. Tony, as always, thanks for your very sage and wonderful advice and taking our calls this morning. And check out your website, which is
www.tc-dog-training.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us. Time to squeeze one more song in before the news now. Back when Turner Owner Drive, ain't seen nothing yet.